The Cleveland Browns didn't just make a move, they lit a match and tossed it into a room full of gasoline. Reports are swirling that the Cleveland Browns are pushing all their chips forward, tying their season, their future, and their credibility to one of the most scrutinized rookie quarterbacks the league has seen in years. And the timing? That's what has everyone frozen. Because this isn't happening after stability, it's happening in the middle of uncertainty. At the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders, talented, confident, and already under a microscope that most veterans never experience. The speed is faster, the defenses are smarter, and the margin for error is brutal. And instead of easing the pressure, Cleveland may have just done the opposite. Because if reports are true, they're handing him a weapon that changes everything. A.J. Brown doesn't just upgrade an offense, he reshapes expectations overnight. Suddenly, development isn't enough. Learning curves disappear. Excuses evaporate. This isn't a rebuild anymore. It's a challenge, and the question no one can escape is simple. Did the Browns just save their rookie quarterback, or did they put the weight of an entire franchise directly on his shoulders? At some point, every franchise hits a moment where patience starts to feel like fear, and for the Cleveland Browns, this feels exactly like that moment. For years, the organization preached long-term vision, careful development, and incremental progress, slow builds, safe moves, controlled risk. But this decision, this crosses a line Cleveland rarely touches. This is urgency. This is escalation. This is a team saying, "We're done waiting." What makes it jarring isn't just the boldness, it's the timing. Teams usually go all in after they know who they are, after the quarterback is proven, after the offense is settled. Cleveland did the opposite. They chose acceleration while the engine is still being built. And that's why this move feels so different from anything they've done in recent years. This wasn't about depth. It wasn't about patching weaknesses. This was a declaration that the evaluation phase is over, whether the answers are ready or not. Around the league, moves like this don't happen quietly. They trigger reactions. Analysts squint at the timeline. Fans argue whether this is confidence or desperation. And behind the scenes, there's speculation that the Browns front office felt something slipping. Momentum, belief, time. Reports suggest internal conversations shifted from "let's see what we have" to "we can't afford another wait-and-see season." That kind of pivot doesn't come from comfort, it comes from pressure. This also sends a message to everyone inside the building. Coaches, veterans, young players. Nobody's hiding behind development anymore. Nobody's pointing to next year. When a franchise commits this hard, this fast, it changes the temperature in every room. The expectations aren't spoken, they're implied. Win now, adapt now, justify this move now. And here's the part people keep overlooking. When you cross that line, there's no stepping back. Draft capital doesn't grow back. Reputations don't reset. The Browns didn't just change strategy, they changed identity midstream. And whether that becomes a turning point or a warning sign depends on what happens next, because this gamble wasn't made in a vacuum. It was made with one player very clearly in mind.
The pressure on Shedeur Sanders didn't start with this move, it just got magnified. From the moment he stepped onto an NFL field, every throw, every decision, every hesitation has been dissected in real time. For a rookie quarterback, that's normal. For Shedeur, it's relentless. His name carries expectations, narratives, and assumptions before the ball was even snapped, and the league has wasted no time testing him. The adjustment has been unforgiving. NFL defenses don't reveal their intentions. Windows close faster than instinct can react. One late read turns into a turnover. One forced throw shifts momentum. At times, Shedeur has looked ahead of a curve, poised, fearless, willing to stand in under pressure. At others, he's looked exactly like what he is, a young quarterback learning the game at full speed while the spotlight never blinks. And in this league, there's no mercy for learning in public. What separates him, though, is how he's handled it. He hasn't hidden behind scripted answers or vague optimism. When mistakes happen, he owns them. When criticism comes, he doesn't flinch. That matters inside a locker room. Veterans can sense when a quarterback is deflecting and when he's absorbing. Shedeur has absorbed everything. The hits, the noise, the expectations, and he keeps stepping back into the huddle like someone who knows this is his responsibility, whether he's ready or not. But here's the truth that doesn't show up in box scores. Development only works when a team allows space for it, and Cleveland has quietly removed that space. When you're still learning protections, deciphering post-snap movement, and speeding up your internal clock, patience isn't luxury, it's oxygen. This move signals that oxygen is running low. Now, growth has to happen faster. Mistakes carry heavier consequences. Every drive feels like a verdict. This isn't about whether Shedeur can eventually be the guy anymore. It's about whether he can become the guy while the organization is pushing forward at full speed. And that's a very different kind of test. Because when a franchise makes a move like this, it doesn't just add help, it redraws the standard. Suddenly, flashes aren't enough. Progress isn't enough. The margin for grace disappears, and the next phase of Shedeur Sanders' career won't be judged by potential, but by what he does with what he's been given. On paper, bringing in a wide receiver looks simple. More yards, more explosive plays, more highlight clips. But A.J. Brown doesn't operate on paper. He warps reality the moment he lines up outside. Defenses don't just account for him, they plan around him. Safeties shade his side before the snap. Corners press with backup already creeping. Entire coverages tilt, and suddenly the field looks different for everyone else. That's the part most people miss. A.J. Brown doesn't just create production, he creates structure. Routes don't have to be perfect when windows get wider. Reads become clearer because the defense has fewer ways to disguise intentions. For a young quarterback, that kind of clarity is priceless. Throws that used to feel risky now feel defined. Decisions happen faster, not because the quarterback speeds up, but because the picture simplifies. And then there's the physicality. A.J. Brown doesn't need separation the traditional way. He wins when defenders are in his space. He boxes out, absorbs contact, and finishes plays through traffic. Third and short, red zone, late downs when plays break down. That's where he turns
covered into open. That's not finesse, that's authority. Defenses feel it, and they adjust out of self-preservation. But here's where the equation flips. With that kind of weapon, the excuses evaporate. When a receiver this dominant is on the field, hesitation looks worse. Missed reads get louder. Every stalled drive raises eyebrows. Elite talent doesn't soften scrutiny, it concentrates it. Suddenly, the quarterback isn't just learning, he's expected to deliver. Inside a locker room, A.J. Brown brings something else that can't be coached: expectation. He's been deep into playoff runs. He's caught passes that mattered when seasons were on the line. That experience changes conversations. It raises the volume in meetings. It tightens practice reps. Young players stop coasting when someone like that demands precision by example, not speeches. And that's the real gamble Cleveland is making. A.J. Brown doesn't just lift the ceiling, he raises the floor and lowers the tolerance for failure. He makes the offense better instantly, but he also removes the safety net. Because once a weapon like this arrives, the question isn't whether help exists, it's whether the quarterback is ready to use it. And that answer is coming fast. If this move lands the way reports suggest, the pressure doesn't stop with the quarterback, it detonates on the sideline. For Kevin Stefanski, the margin for explanation just shrank to almost nothing. For years, his offenses have lived in a gray area, competitive, functional, but often limited by personnel, injuries, or timing. Those qualifiers don't survive a move like this. When elite talent walks through the door, the playbook has to expand with it. This is where the tone shifts from evaluation to expectation. Stefanski's no longer managing uncertainty, he's directing investment. Every conservative call, every stalled drive, every moment the offense feels compressed instead of aggressive will be dissected. With a receiver who can win one-on-one anywhere on the field, creativity isn't optional anymore, it's mandatory. You don't trade premium assets for safety, you trade them for control. Around the league, there's quiet speculation that this move puts the coaching staff firmly on the clock. Reports claim ownership wants proof that the system can scale, not just survive, that the offense can dictate instead of react. And now there's nowhere left to hide. If the scheme looks predictable, that's coaching. If spacing collapses, that's design.
If the offense stalls despite upgraded talent, the questions get uncomfortable fast. What makes this even heavier is the timing. This isn't a clean off-season reset. This is real-time recalibration. Stefanski has to balance a rookie quarterback's learning curve with an aggressive win-now push. Two goals that don't always move in sync. Lean too conservative and you waste the weapon. Push too fast and you risk breaking the quarterback. There's no perfect answer, only consequences. And inside the building, everyone feels it. Assistants, coordinators, position coaches. When a franchise makes a statement like this, it's not just about belief, it's about accountability. Results aren't coming eventually, they're expected now. Because once a team decides it's done waiting, every decision carries weight. And the next one could define more than just a season.
Moves like this don't just reshape a depth chart, they reshape relationships. The moment a player like A.J. Brown enters the building, the locker room balance shifts. Expectations rise without a word being said. Veterans feel it immediately. Young players sense it even faster. Because when a franchise commits this hard, nobody's development exists in a vacuum anymore. For the quarterbacks especially, the temperature changes overnight. Shedeur Sanders isn't the only one affected. Every rep matters more now. Backup quarterbacks stop feeling like insurance policies and start feeling like live evaluations. Players like Dillon Gabriel, who may have previously existed quietly on the depth chart, suddenly find themselves one snap away from opportunity or scrutiny. With elite talent on the outside, reads should be cleaner, windows wider. That means fewer explanations when plays break down. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Elite players don't arrive to wait. A.J. Brown hasn't built his career by easing into environments. He comes to compete, to dominate, to win, immediately. In practice, routes get sharper, timing tightens, drops feel heavier. When the ball doesn't arrive on time, receivers notice. When quarterbacks hesitate, they notice more. This isn't toxic, it's professional, but it separates who's ready from who's pretending. Veterans see the signal clearly. This team isn't drifting anymore, it's committing. That brings buy-in, but it also brings accountability. Meetings feel different. Film sessions get louder without anyone raising their voice. The standard rises organically, and once it rises, it doesn't come back down. Young players either match it or get left behind. For Shedeur, this is where leadership stops being theoretical. Commanding a huddle means more when proven voices are listening. Trust isn't automatic, it's earned through decisiveness, through putting the ball where it needs to be, when it needs to be there. A.J. Brown doesn't demand perfection, but he does demand clarity. Indecision gets exposed quickly when a receiver expects the ball before the break. And that's the ripple effect Cleveland accepted when they crossed this line. This move strengthens the roster, but it also sharpens the environment. Comfort disappears, roles get redefined, some players rise, others fade, because when elite talent enters the room doesn't stay the same, and the real fallout doesn't show up on Sundays, it shows up every day between them. There might not be a harsher testing ground in the league right now than the AFC North. Every week feels like a collision, space is contested, mistakes get punished immediately, and that's exactly why this move carries so much weight. The Browns don't get the luxury of easing into anything, not development, not chemistry, not confidence. In this division, if you hesitate, you're done. Look at what Cleveland has been running into all season. Defenses that disguise coverages until the last second, pass rushers who don't need help to wreck a game plan, matchups that expose every weakness in high definition. Games against physical opponents like the Baltimore Ravens don't forgive offenses that can't threaten downfield. If your receivers can't separate or win through contact, the playbook shrinks fast, and that's where Cleveland has been living.
This division doesn't respect potential, it respects threats. The Ravens, Steelers, and even the Bengals prepare for what hurts them, not what might develop later. Without a true WR1 presence, defenses cheat. They crowd short routes, they blitz without fear, they dare young quarterbacks to win tight matchups. And time after time, the Browns have felt that squeeze. That's what makes A.J. Brown less of a splash and more of a necessity. In the AFC North, you don't survive by being balanced, you survive by being dangerous. Brown forces safeties to stay honest. He punishes press coverage. He gives a quarterback an answer when the play breaks down and everything turns into chaos. Against defenses that thrive on confusion, having a receiver who can win even when covered is a lifeline. And the pressure doesn't ease going forward. Every divisional matchup is a referendum. Every third down feels like a statement. Cleveland isn't just trying to score more points, they're trying to stop opponents from dictating terms, because once a defense senses fear or limitation, they attack it relentlessly. That's the reality Cleveland is stepping into. No grace period, no gentle learning curve. This division doesn't care who your quarterback is or how young he might be. It only cares whether you can hurt them. And now, the Browns have a weapon that says they intend to try. Whether that's enough is about to be tested in the loudest way possible. This is the part where the safety net disappears. Once a franchise trades premium assets for elite talent, there's no such thing as long-term patience anymore. Draft picks don't regenerate, cap space doesn't magically reset, and narratives don't wait until the plan finishes developing. The Browns made a choice that can't be softened or rebranded later. This is high risk, with no retreat built in. Around the league, front offices know exactly what this kind of move signals. It's not hope, it's urgency. Reports suggest Cleveland viewed this season as a narrowing window, not a stepping stone. That's why the cost didn't scare them, because doing nothing felt worse than doing something bold. But bold decisions don't come with partial credit, they come with consequences. If this works, it changes everything. The Browns stop being framed as a franchise stuck in cycles and start being talked about as one that finally acted with conviction. The coaching staff gains legitimacy, the quarterback gains momentum, the locker room gains belief, all from one swing that lands clean. But if it doesn't work, if the offense still sputters, if timing never clicks, if the pressure overwhelms a young quarterback, the fallout arrives fast and loud. Critics won't blame injuries, they won't blame youth, they'll point directly at this decision. Why now? Why this cost? Why force the timeline? Those questions don't linger quietly, they dominate every conversation. When you go all in, you invite that scrutiny. Cleveland knew that walking in, they chose it anyway. And that's what separates this move from noise. It's a line in the sand. The Browns aren't waiting for clarity, they're demanding it from the quarterback, from the coach, from themselves. There's no easing into this next chapter. The verdict is coming in real time, week by week, snap by snap. Because once a franchise decides fear is worse than failure, the only way forward is through. And Cleveland just committed to finding out exactly who they are, whether the answer is celebration or regret. This is what happens when a franchise decides it's done asking for permission. The Browns didn't wait for certainty. They didn't wait for comfort. They didn't wait for the perfect version of their quarterback to arrive. They chose urgency over safety, belief over hesitation, and now they own everything that comes with it. For Shedeur Sanders, there's nowhere left to hide. This moment isn't about potential anymore. It's about command, about standing in the huddle knowing the standard just changed. A.J. Brown doesn't erase pressure, he focuses it. Every throw matters more now. Every hesitation is louder, but so is every opportunity. The help is real. The excuses are gone. For the coaching staff, this is the final test of alignment. Talent meets scheme. Expectation meets execution. Either the offense evolves into something dangerous, or the spotlight turns unforgiving. There's no middle ground anymore, no soft resets, no give it time language left to lean on. And for Cleveland as a whole, this is a declaration. The past doesn't get to dictate the present. The rebuild talk is finished. This franchise is done waiting its turn. Whether this gamble becomes a breakthrough or a warning sign will be decided on the field, not in press conferences or projections. The question now isn't whether the Browns made a bold move. That part is settled. The question is whether everyone involved is ready to live with what bold actually demands, because patience is gone. The window is open, and whatever happens next happens fast.